Postpartum depression is part of the DSM as an actual diagnosis now. That's a relatively new thing. And so often we're looking at a significant adjustment type disorder, either with, again, commonly anxiety or depression. So I graduated in 2021, but in 2021, I had my daughter. Looking back, recognizing like how much anxiety and maybe a little bit of like OCD that I had after having her. Worried about, like the temperature in her room had to be a certain degree before she went to bed, constantly waking up, checking. You have a baby and then your whole identity changes and just all this information. Then I'm like, why aren't we talking about this?
That's why I always have such a soft spot for young mothers is when you don't know the symptoms of postpartum or OCD or all of these other, mental health struggles, you kind of tuck yourself away. Motherhood changes everything, but no one really prepares you for how much it changes you. In this episode of Behind the Blue Lines, we're joined by perinatal therapist Holly Chansey, founder of Her Table Collective, to talk about the identity shift that comes with becoming a mom, the mental health challenges so many women quietly face, and why asking for help is one of the strongest things you can do. Whether your pregnancy was planned or unexpected, this is a conversation every mom deserves to hear. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Unplanned and Untold is completely donor funded, and we rely on generous supporters like you. If you believe no student mom should have to face an unplanned pregnancy alone, consider making a tax-deductible donation through the link in our show notes. And if you're enjoying the show, a free and easy way to help us out is by leaving us a 5-star review. It truly makes a huge difference. Without further ado, let's welcome Holly to Unplanned and Untold. Holly, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I've been super excited about this.
I am really excited about this because this is going to be an episode that really can help student moms, women finding out they're in unplanned pregnancies, but also regular women, because I know that there are married women who are totally stable and totally great who love to listen to this podcast too. So this is going to be an episode that helps so many people.
Yes, I'm very excited about it. There's lots and lots of knowledge that I feel like I have seen in my work that we just don't talk about enough.
I agree.
Yeah.
And to give our listeners some reference, we go back to college. Like Holly and I ran in the same circles our last couple of years of college. So I have not seen you in forever. So this is a gift.
I know. Yes. I know. Love to be able to like connect back.
Yes. So much has changed. Do you remember my unplanned pregnancy story? And do you have any memories of that back in the day?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure when that was happening was I had been living with my roommates that, are in our circle. I'm pretty sure after your unplanned pregnancy. So just kind of knowing a little bit about that from, through mutual friends and running in those circles.
Yeah, because that was wild. After I had gotten pregnant, another friend in our circle got pregnant, I believe almost a year after I did. And you lived with her. So you kind of got a front row seat into what this was like unfolding while finishing school.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And kind of being in that, friend circle of support in, having, friends that are starting to have babies. Well, you're not. And in that, especially in college, right? Like in the unplanned, like unknown that we're like, we'll help you. What do we need to do? How do we figure this out and help you navigate? Yeah, absolutely. Now what?
Exactly. Oh, well, for our listeners to know her story as well, the roommate that she lived with that had an unplanned pregnancy, she achieved all of her dreams. I mean, she went above and beyond. And so there are so many success stories out there. And PSA, an unplanned pregnancy does not need to be the end of your college career. And we've witnessed that firsthand. But I want to dive into what you do for a career, how you got started in this. Tell our listeners a little bit about all of that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I am a licensed mental health counselor, kind of going into mental health. So little backstory, I had worked in education before, and then I was like, I actually, not to say that I don't care necessarily about the education piece, but I like the life education piece, right? Like Yeah, if you can read or write, that's great. But also, like, if you don't have communication skills and regulation skills, you for sure can't maintain and keep a job, right? So I just kind of
Right.
shifted into the more like social, emotional communication, life skill education in counseling. And so just kind of going into that, and I was like, I'm going to work with kids or I'm going to do this, and not really sure what I was wanting to do. And then so I graduated in 2021, but in 2021, I had my daughter. And so I didn't, hindsight's 2020, but looking back, recognizing like how much anxiety and maybe a little bit of like OCD that I had after
Mm.
having her, where I was like super confident in my parenting, but very anxious about everybody else, worried about, like the temperature in her room had to be a certain degree
Right.
before she went to bed, constantly waking up, checking. Sometimes I would intentionally wake her up because I'm like, well, if I wake you up, then I know you're not dead and we'll just deal with like you not sleeping, right? Like it
Right.
was a like, which now she's not a great sleeper. Probably my fault. It is what it is. Um, but the anxiety that was like driving me, that I was like, but that's because I'm such a good mom that I care so much. And then, looking back when you're like, oh no, that's not necessarily what that means, right? Like it's
Mm.
a stance of like how much is it impacting your day? Like I remember, I think my
Mm.
daughter was like 9 months old, and my husband had her, we were out of town, had her in like the carrier, and she was sleeping for like 2 hours. And I'm like, she's literally dead and you just don't know it. Right. Like just thinking this thing of like, and then he's like, you do realize like I love her as much as you do. And I'm like, yeah, you know? So kind of seeing that and then just starting to figure out like where's like the niche that I want to go. And I went to a training. So Postpartum Support International had a training for like perinatal mental health counseling and things like
Okay.
that. And so I went to that training and was just like, oh, like that I was experiencing that. This is like this information piece that I didn't have, that this isn't, while common, not normal. Very
Wow.
common,
Right.
just not normal, right? So really taking that and realizing like, again, hindsight 2020 of like, how did that impact my relationship? How did that impact me? Where also, who am I as a mom, like, right,
Mhm.
or as a human, right? Like you have a baby and then your whole identity changes and just all this information. Then I'm like, why aren't we talking about this?
It is wild. I mean, you really do see in real time. And that's why I always have such a soft spot for young mothers is when you don't know the symptoms of postpartum or OCD or all of these other, mental health struggles. You kind of tuck yourself away in a hole and you seclude yourself and you try to normalize a lot of those thoughts and just say, this
Absolutely.
is normal. It's fine. And you struggle alone. And I am so grateful we live in a day and age where we can have these conversations and we can educate women that it's okay to talk to somebody and get help. And maybe some of these thoughts that you're having constantly are not so quote unquote normal. And it's something that we could help.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Something that I always say too is I'm like, it's so interesting how lonely motherhood is when everyone's doing it.
Right.
Right. It's literally happening all the time, but the loneliness in your own brain of like,
Hmm.
well, I'm anxious, but like I can't tell somebody that. Or if I have maybe these like OCD thoughts where,
Hmm.
oftentimes if I share an OCD thought, which is like, I'm worried that I'm going to intentionally throw my baby down or something, and people will
Hmm.
be like, okay, well, then that's like a DCF call. And it's
Right.
like, but it's not.
No.
So then there's harm being caused of like trying to reach out to get the support when I have no desire to harm my baby, but my
Right.
brain is telling me this thing, right? And so then there's the fear of like, well, what will happen? What will
Hmm.
happen if I do share my
Yes.
thoughts? Will I be Baker acted? Will something happen? Will they take my I mean, and so then we suffer in silence.
Absolutely. And your practice is very unique, in my opinion. And I think it's very cutting edge. I had to Google all of this before the show. I'm like, what is perinatal counseling? And I'm reading and I'm like, oh my goodness. yes, this would be so beneficial, not only for our student moms and unplanned pregnancies, but for your regular moms who are married and have a support system in place. I feel like this is a almost newer niche that's coming to the forefront of the counseling field. How would you explain what your practice is like to, a regular person who's never heard of this kind of counseling?
Yeah. So oftentimes I have heard this in trainings and stuff because no one knows what perinatal is, right?
Yeah, it's one of
They're just
those, you're
like,
like,
okay.
prenatal, postnatal, like.
Yes. Yes. So everybody's always like, just describe, like, I work with postpartum depression. And everybody's like, oh,
Oh.
okay, I get it. I'm like, oh, that's the thing. So I had worked in other group practices and again, just trying to find my niche, trying to, work through licensure and things. And so it's been kind of like a crazy ride this past year, but have really been focusing in on the like perinatal aspect,
Mm.
pregnancy, postpartum, all of that. And so I created it as an individual practice where it was just going to be me. And then I guess God had other plans. And all of a sudden now there's, I think, about to be 8 of us. And I
Wow.
started in August of last year. So
Stop. That is immense
yes.
growth.
So it's been crazy. And not everybody works with like perinatal,
Sure.
there we have like trauma, addiction, couples counseling, family
Yes.
counseling, brain spotting. I mean, there's a bunch of different things that we all do. But I started to recognize like in town as well, like so I'm in Panama City, Florida. And so where we're at, anytime anybody would post, on the Facebook groups
Mm.
or whatever about like postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression, I was the only one in town that like really
Oh,
was ever recommended. Now, I think as a counselor, you can work with anxiety and depression and things like that
sure.
and still recognize postpartum is a significant life change.
Mhm.
But as far as like niching to that. And so just kind of recognizing too, like I kind of expanded from the like pregnancy, postpartum to adding people in and being like, okay, I mean, not all of the time, but oftentimes, right, commonly mom is the one making doctor's appointments,
Yeah.
kind of the mental load aspect of
Mhm.
like what's happening for, if their husband needs therapy or their child does, or, anything like that. And kind of branching it to like, obviously, our core person is like to mom. Hey, like we want to be able to be a place that like you had a family member die or something happen that like we can support all of you.
Yes.
And so yeah, it's been a crazy, crazy year, not even a year of of growth and expansion and stuff like that. So but yeah, really that like big heart in just the significant changes in your life that go on pregnancy and postpartum.
And your practice evolving into being, not necessarily a one size fits all, but something that evolves with these women and these families, it sounds like, as time
Yes.
progresses.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Yes.
beautiful concept because once you have those relationships with therapists, it's hard to start over. You don't want to start from the beginning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're like, I just told you everything.
Right.
And now
My
to
whole
switch,
life.
like, I have to start over. Yes.
Yes. So,
Absolutely.
what are some of the most common struggles you see in women during pregnancy and postpartum?
So I would say super commonly, if do you mean more of like diagnosis route or
Yes.
just in
Yes.
general?
Either way you want to go, either diagnosis route or general issues, maybe that will point you into a direction of, okay, this is more than one thought that's come through your head. We need to work through this.
Okay. So I would say probably genuinely the very most common thing outside of, we'll switch to diagnosis in a minute, but outside of diagnosis is very often the identity
Mm.
of like, so have you ever heard of the word matrescence?
No.
Yeah, it's,
Another
we're
one I
gonna
need
say
to
like a
Google.
new, yes, like a newly coined term, we'll call it that. But matrescence talks about basically from like conception through, I say 3 years because I don't think it stops at a year. But
Right.
postpartum. But through that, where basically we are going back through adolescence.
Wow.
Like our hormones are changing. We're trying to figure out this whole identity shift, just like when you're in adolescence and like who wants to go back there? But so our brains really go through
No,
this
it was
identity
horrible.
crisis. Exactly. So they go through this like, who am I? Because on one side of you, you are really like your body and your brain is like, if you don't do everything for this child, what will happen? Like I mean, just innately, it's, as
Mhm.
moms, your baby cries and your whole body is like, I have to solve this problem right now. So there's that. But then you're also,
Yes.
yeah, that there's also like, your brain is also like, but like, what about you? Do you remember me back here?
Mhm.
I'm here, right? And then if you do, say you have a partner, okay, well then I also had this role as a partner, but like I can't really give to you because this baby is needing everything of me. So like there's all these different
Mm.
dynamics now that I'm like, who am I outside of just being a mom? And I think that
Right.
is probably the biggest because it impacts everything. It impacts you as motherhood, it impacts you as yourself along with depression and anxiety or whatever else may come. Also impacts like your relationship, so
Absolutely.
identity is a huge, huge piece of that. Like I thought, so there's that. We'll pause there. So there's that. Another thing I would say commonly is a lot of just, I would say, the anxiety or depression.
Okay.
And then obviously there's trauma that can happen
Yeah.
as well. Traumatic birth, or a lot, I feel like I see a lot of trauma ending up being having an expectation, and then this is what I expect to happen, and then it not being that
Mm.
way after. My birth is going to go this way, or postpartum is going to look like this. I'm going to have this support. I'm going to have this, and then it not happening. Um, yeah. Hopefully that answered part of it.
It did. No, it did. And diagnosis wise, what do you see most common in your practice?
I would say diagnosis wise, it's either we're kind of looking most of the time because, well, now postpartum depression is part of the DSM as an actual,
Right.
diagnosis now. That's a relatively new thing. And so often we're looking at the adjustment, right? Like the significant adjustment
Mhm.
type disorder, either with, again, commonly anxiety or depression. Um, and so oftentimes, yeah, there's a lot of the like, I have to keep checking the monitor, like what's
Mhm.
going on with my baby, what will happen in their future. Now I've thought, where are they going to go to college? And it's keeping me up at night and they're 3 days old. Like,
Right.
just, all of the like, the life things that they're continuing to think. And then as far as like the depression, oftentimes so this is where I think the challenge comes sometimes with the depression, because it's like, well, duh, you're exhausted.
Right. How do you tell?
Duh.
Like, how do you know the difference?
Yes. So the big thing that we talk about is it affecting your self-confidence.
Mm.
So there's a difference between, I'm just like exhausted. I don't want to get out of bed. I, slept for 2 hours. I have no energy. I don't really have a lot of joy. But like, this will end. We'll get
Right.
through this. We're 2 weeks in, and then there's the, I'm exhausted. I don't want to get out of bed. I've barely slept, and I'm not a good mom. And like, I don't even know why I should be doing this. They'd be better off without me. Right? Like,
Yeah.
there's that like confidence piece
Mm.
of that, like self esteem, self confidence, which really indicates a lot more of the depression versus just like, yeah, of course you're tired. You have a 2 week old.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And what's interesting is a lot of these symptoms are common among women who planned their pregnancies, right? So
Oh, yeah.
they went into this wanting a baby. They're married. They have a support system in place, and they are still checking all the boxes to all of these different
Yes.
struggles. And then I look at the student mom population, a population for
Yes.
so long that really has been underserved, not talked about, almost a shame on you. You put yourself in this situation,
Yeah.
figure it out by yourself. You brought it upon
Yep.
yourself. And so, in your professional opinion, what makes unplanned pregnancies uniquely challenging emotionally or mentally compared to women who have planned this out and have the support system?
Yeah. So, I mean, even with those who have planned it and have a support system, almost always people get that positive test and they're like, what?
What did I do?
For
Wait,
real?
we really did
Right.
this?
So there's that piece, right? Like, where even they're like, it's happening.
Yeah,
And then there's, I mean, I think what statistically 50% of pregnancies are unplanned.
right.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a huge, I mean, so to show also too that like this isn't necessarily like an uncommon thing. 50%, that's a lot, right? And so I think we, number one, like you said, there's a lot of stigma around like, well, you did this, like you should know, you're 18 now, so you're a whole adult and know all the things. And I'm like, I'm 35 and I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
I'm still figuring it out. Um, and so I think the unplanned part, right? Like, okay, well, are you in a relationship with a person?
Hmm.
Are they going to stick around? Like, if you're in a relationship, are they staying? If you weren't, what does that mean? What responsibility do they have? Well, what responsibility do they have? What are they actually going to abide by? Right? How
Hmm.
much are they going to give into that? If I have my student loans paying my rent, are my roommates going to want to live with a newborn? Are my
Right.
parents going to be okay with this? Are they going to demand that I come home? What does this look like for finishing college? What does this, the financial stressor is student loans aren't going to pay me to then be a mom and not go to college. Like, do I need to get a
Right.
job right now? How should I do this? Like, there's all of these additional things of like, okay, I'm in this trajectory of life. Now what? Now
Absolutely.
what will happen?
And I think the being thrust into a completely different identity that we probably were not ready for. Not saying that a mom who wants a baby is fully prepared, because I don't think anybody understands once you have that baby how much your
No,
life changes. Because it is a
no.
full flip of a lifestyle
Yep.
change. But with our college students, they were in their minds maybe 5 years out from ever having to make these decisions
Right.
and transition into this type of lifestyle. And that can be extremely isolating. And that, to go back to what you were saying, of women might feel that lostness of like, who am I now that I am a mom? What advice would you give to a woman who may feel like she has lost herself, whether just finding out she's pregnant and it's that doom thinking from a college student of, my life is over, I'm pregnant and I don't know what's on the other end, or the mom who planned it, had that baby and now doesn't feel like she knows who she is?
So, first of all, we really start with the like grounding regulation of like what is happening right now and what can we do to take, I would say the biggest what if this, what if that, what if that, like we're thinking of all of these future things. And so how do we, number one, pause to think of like, but what is happening right now? I do a lot of like, what can control and what can we not? If you literally can't do
Mm,
something about it right now, again, where's my child going to go to college? Like, it just needs to go in this box of like, there's nothing I can do about this right now, but I can make my doctor's appointment or I can contact a friend, or what can I literally do? And I kind of say what, utilizing your anxious energy for good instead of evil.
okay.
Really putting it into what can I get done? Because I could sit here for 3 hours thinking of what will my life look like in the
Right.
next year. But if I can't do something about it, then it just feels again like isolating and this like rotating thing in my brain. So that usually is like, okay, we got to pause to like what is happening right now in the moment. Oftentimes too, we'll talk about what are things that have brought you joy before that are for you, whether it's like, oh well, I used to like read books. Okay, what kind of books do we need? We have to like schedule it in. If it's not
Right.
scheduled, it's not going to happen. So how are we putting this into your daily life to make sure that like you are focusing on you and remembering like, okay, I actually did used to like just sit outside and read, or literally
Mhm.
stand outside and like take 5 deep breaths in some fresh air. So finding where are those things that like have brought you joy before and just putting them in bite-sized pieces. Like, oh well, I used to love traveling the world. Okay, well, we're not doing that right this very moment. So is that something we could plan in the future? Or where are the things that just on a day-to-day basis can bring regulation and be like, I chose this.
Mm,
I chose to get up and go stand outside and take 5 deep breaths.
mhm.
Therefore, I knew it would make me feel good. And I did it. And I showed myself that I can show up for myself and I can trust myself to do that for me.
Wow, that's good. I think a lot of times our mom guilt can get the best of us of every waking, breathing moment. Now, when they're newborns, it's a little bit different because they need you in a different
Yes,
capacity. But eventually the newborn starts growing up and you've got a toddler and you've got a school age child. And I find what's interesting is we are starting to have more conversations surrounding mom, you've got to do something for you because if you are not healthy emotionally, mentally, you can't pour out of an empty cup to these children. Do you tend to
correct.
see that happen a lot where we've got to pause, even with the women with older children, and remind them, we've got to take care of yourself?
Yes. Yes. Yes, the mom guilt. Why? I'm sure at some
Where
point
does
it
it
was really
come
helpful.
from?
Like, right. I'm sure it was some sort of like survival skill that we needed at some point. Don't leave your children out in the wilderness. I don't know. But
Mm.
it sometimes feels like this overactive thing when like our child is safe, either dad or family member or somebody's watching them, or also like if they're in their crib, you can go outside and take 5 deep breaths. Like they're in
Right.
a safe location.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's this guilt of like, well, they need me, or what if something happens, or how do I problem solve this?
Mhm.
And I usually tell people, I'm like, they're fine.
Yep.
Like if they genuinely are in a safe place, like,
Yes.
bye. They are busy doing something else
Mhm.
and distracted while you're gone. And
Mhm.
then, it's an us problem. It's an us problem. And
Yes.
so I kind of use the exposure of like the more you do it, not to say the less guilty you feel, but the less guilty you feel.
Right.
You've gained this. They're fine when I came home.
Yep. And now I don't know if you would agree with this advice, so I'm curious, but this has saved me a couple times is, when the baby is fed, clean diaper, burped, like there shouldn't be anything particularly wrong, but they're screaming, and you have hit that top of your threshold. And a lot of times this would happen as a stay at home mom for me with, a little
Yeah,
baby that just was incessantly crying and I just couldn't figure it out. But I could feel my emotions rising to a place where I was like, I don't know, like at this point. And an older woman had told me, listen, put them in their crib, walk away, get outside 5 minutes. They're not going to die crying for 5 minutes. Compose yourself and go back and try to figure out something else that you can do to get them to stop crying. What are your thoughts on advice like that?
absolutely. I recommend that to people all the time. I'm like, what is the harm that is caused? They cry
Mhm.
for 5 minutes. You are able to take a second, take a beat, and go regulate
Mhm.
yourself until you are ready to come
Right.
back. Because the opposite is you're dysregulated. They can tell you're
Yes.
frustrated. Harm can then be caused, even if it's just like
Yes.
yelling or something that like
Mhm.
maybe it's not, the shaken baby thing, right? Like maybe it doesn't go that far,
Right.
but if we're not taking care of ourselves, that is when harm can be caused. So yeah, absolutely. They're in a safe place. They're fine. They're fed. You're gone for 5, 10 minutes, whatever you need to just like take a deep breath and close your ears for a minute and go back. And yeah, just like you said, like try something else, try again, but they are safe and okay.
Yes. And we've got to get to that place. And I love how you mentioned that they
Absolutely.
can pick up on your emotions because boy, do they pick up on your emotions. So
Yes.
how
No matter the age.
no matter the age, absolutely.
Yes.
No matter. I mean, I've got teenagers now, and do they know when mom's upset? I might not have said a word, no
Nope.
yelling, but they feel the shift.
Yes. Absolutely.
How do you help clients navigate emotions like love for their child, but grief for their old life? Because I feel that is a common symptom in a lot of our student moms. There's this push pull between I love my baby, but man, I miss the old life that I used to have.
Yes, absolutely. So that is where that matrescence piece comes in because it really is like who you are as a person, as an individual, right? Because you were only an individual, even as a partner, a daughter, a friend, whatever. There's all those rules, but like the significant identity piece of like you genuinely, like you kind of have died. Like who you have
Mm.
known yourself to be has died to become this new person. And so it's really hard. Yeah. Because you're like, well, I love my baby so much. But like, also, do you know it would be really nice if I could just go pee really quick and not hear someone
Mm.
crying or think that, before I walk out of the house, I have to make sure this is packed, this is packed, this is packed, this is packed. If we're leaving for 2 hours, how many times do they need to eat? How many changes of clothes? What if they blow out of their diaper? How many, like, without having all of those things, those requirements, right? Like that you have to do, there is that like push and pull of like, well, I used to be this person and I could just grab my keys and walk out the door. Now I have all of these things and I literally love my baby so much. And also,
Mm.
that's hard. And I think a big thing that we'll talk about is like those two things can exist at the exact same time. Two things can be true. I can love this and also like be sad that I can't just grab my keys and walk out the door too. And so I
Yes.
think commonizing that, I think, or, normalizing that where there's like
Mhm.
people think I can't love my baby and also be sad. Like
Mm.
that doesn't work together when it's like, no, that all of those things can be simultaneously true.
That's awesome. I think a lot of times we feel we've got to be one way or the other, live in one emotion or the other emotion. And so that's a great piece of advice that two things can be true and healing comes. You start figuring out your new normal
Yes.
and your new self. And do you recommend any small daily habits that can make this transition a little bit easier on women?
Yes. So there is, I went to this training and I am not going to be able to remember the exact same
That's
thing
okay.
about it, or
You'll
the
remember
name of it.
after the
But
episode.
I will 100%. Absolutely. But we talk a lot about like, it's kind of like this five, what are like the five finger things that you can remember throughout the day. So eat, sleep, support, not gonna be able to tell you the rest. Eat,
Okay.
sleep, support, hydration, and something
Okay.
else along there. So a lot of those things where it's like, how are we figuring out how we can implement these? Like I'll talk with clients of like, okay, if you have a baby and you have family members coming over, what are they doing around your house before they hold the baby?
Wow.
They're
I love
folding
this.
laundry, they're washing
Yes.
dishes. Like, what is the thing that they can do for you?
Yes.
Eating, buy some chomps. You got some
Mhm.
chomps and some cheese sticks and some nutrition bars right around you. Like, literally have a protein bar in every corner of your house.
Yeah.
Because the amount of times that you're like, well, then I was nursing them. And then, like, as soon as they went down, I had to go pump and then I had to
Yeah.
clean this and do that. And I haven't eaten in 12 hours. So,
Yeah.
a lot of the nutrition, hydration, number one, if you don't have that, like, you are not regulated.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
science, right? So,
Mhm.
having a lot of those things, I would say very basic of cheese sticks, chomp sticks, whatever type of like protein bars that are literally all over your house that you can like readily grab and go.
I love this. And the advice of when people come over, how they can help. Because I think through lived experience, people come over and they want to hold the baby, but the baby's sleeping
Yes.
and you
Yes.
don't really
Also, I
need
want to hold my
them to
baby.
hold the baby.
No. No.
So, PSA, even if you're not pregnant and you're listening to this episode, that is a beautiful piece of advice is to when you're visiting those postpartum mamas, realizing, yeah, it's a little bit selfish on our part to want to hold the baby, but what can we do for mama? How can we make sure she's regulated and she's the best mom that she can be? And extra points if you bring the chomps and the protein bars while you come over to do the
Exactly.
laundry.
Yes. Yeah. And like, well, and two, I think like there's this, well, what do you need me to do? And I'm like, I haven't slept in 6 days.
Surviving.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, like, I don't know. And maybe there is a certain person that like, I do just want you to hold the baby so I can go sleep for a
Sure.
little bit. But
Yep.
like, but it's just if you during pregnancy, just have this list of like,
Yeah.
some people are like, don't touch my underwear. That's fine. But like, have this list and
Yes.
please check something off of the list. And then you're more than welcome to sit on the couch and hold the baby. Like,
Yes.
doing these things for me because what's not helpful is you holding the baby for me to go get up and do that.
Yep. 100%. Oh, I love this so much. So, if you could change one thing about how society supports women during this transition, what would that be? What would your biggest change that you'd like to see happen be?
Just one.
Just
Just
one.
one.
She's got a lot. You see gaps, and I love that.
I think genuinely, I think we have a lot of, let's call it support
Mhm.
for pregnancy.
Okay.
Pregnancy resource centers, your,
Yes.
OB, there's a lot
Yes.
of support on the like, we can get you to have your baby.
Yes.
Yeah, and then bye.
Yep. Peace out. Good luck. May the odds be ever in your favor type deal.
We'll see you in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
There's not a like, there's not a transition plan. I mean, I even
Mhm.
remember, so my mom's a lactation consultant. So obviously I was like, you have to tell me all of the things. Like,
Yeah.
you know everything. Duh. But I remember in the hospital, they kind of just like latch your baby on you and then you leave and you're
Yeah.
like,
Now what?
nobody's doing it for me.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't have this piece of just like they're doing all of this stuff all around me in the hospital. It's very overwhelming. They send you home with this video of here's how you buckle in a car seat and then they're like, "Bye, we'll see you in 6 weeks and hope for the best." Like there's not that support. Oh, I guess there's okay, let's go with those two things, right? You'd
Mhm.
think that's when your support is supposed to come from families or friends or whatever, but there's not. There's a gap right there of those first 6 weeks.
Right.
Then your family and everyone is supporting for, the first, let's say 12 weeks. And then you're on your own again and
Yep.
nobody's showing up.
Yep.
So I would say probably those two pieces of like people are there. Everybody's telling you what to do and giving you all the support during pregnancy. You leave and you're supposed to just figure it out. Also, then again, you don't want to tell people what your brain's doing.
Right.
Um, and then about 12 weeks later, either maybe you're back to work or something's happened, life is really normal again and you're not top priority in everybody else's mind and now you're figuring it out again on your own.
Right. I've really loved this episode with you, Holly, because I feel not only is it bringing awareness to especially first time moms of, listen, we need to think through what to expect. Like, yes, you're pregnant now, but what is this going to look like after the baby is here? And then to the support systems, you hit on that as well as how can we support these women after the baby is here and long term? And so, thank you so much for enlightening us, our guests, about everything
Absolutely.
perinatal. It really has been awesome hearing all of your advice today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One last thing to leave you guys with,
Yeah.
too. I don't know if you guys are connected with Postpartum Support International at all.
No.
It's an amazing, amazing organization. You can go on there. They have groups like all the time.
Wow.
Peer like support groups
Okay.
for anything you can imagine. There's like a teen mom support group, there's dad support groups, there's moms who either maybe were previously diagnosed or after had a baby diagnosed with like postpartum bipolar disorder or psychosis. I mean, there's
Wow.
lists of like support groups that are happening all of the time. I mean, they have emergency resources as well. They have
Okay.
like a warm line of, instead of calling like a 988 suicide hotline,
Yeah.
they're specifically like perinatal providers who are answering like a warm line to kind of help with that regulation and things too that understand s- the complexities of pregnancy and postpartum.
Wow. And what is that resource called again?
It's Postpartum Support International.
Okay. All right. For all of our listeners, if you are not in the Florida area and can't see Holly, that is a
Yes.
great resource and a great
Yeah, it's
resource. Well,
awesome.
thank you so much for taking the time to enlighten
Absolutely.
us today. And it was so good to see you after all these years,
So good
like
to see you too. I
14 years
know.
later. And look at
I know.
us.
Right.
Wild.
Just like watching each other on social media. I'm like, okay, go girl. Like,
It's so awesome. And I love everything you are doing in the world to help these mothers. I mean, it's a soft spot in my heart. I've had 5 of them. And so every time I'm like, oof, oof, when I see a mama just have a
it's
baby,
different.
it's
Yes.
different. They will always have a soft spot. And eventually you figure it out. You get in a routine,
Yes.
everything levels off. But during that time, you need that support and to know that people can reach
Absolutely.
out to counselors, therapists, practices like yours to find that support and not feel any kind of stigma attached to it. That's why we're here on this podcast having conversations like this, because that is health and wellness, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Thank
Well,
you for having me. This was
you're
so great.
welcome. So glad to see you. And for all of our listeners, we hope to have you back for our next episode of Unplanned and Untold. Bye-bye. Unplanned and Untold drops new episodes every other Wednesday. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star review if you love this episode. I'm Caitlin Willing, and this is Unplanned and Untold.